Welcome to Dad Gives Advice. My name is Orestes, and I'm continuing here with my series on cognitive biases. You'll recall that these are shortcuts that our brains fall into when making quick judgments about the world, but they are incorrect ways of thinking that can lead us into making bad decisions or come to incorrect conclusions about a given topic. Today's cognitive bias is the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'll call it DK effect for short. The DK effect was established by the researchers that gave it its name in their original paper in 1999. The effect is described as when certain people who have a low amount of knowledge or proficiency in a particular topic or ability tend to overestimate their abilities because of what they've just learned. This overestimation of proficiency is basically due to the fact that they don't know what they don't know. The title of the original paper gives a good summary of the situation itself. Unskilled and unaware of it. How difficulties in recognizing one's own incompetence lead to inflated self-assessments. We see this almost every day in people who have only a fraction of the skills and information needed to make decisions on a given topic or to perform in a skill, behaving as if they have it all figured out. Like the old adage says, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Without a complete understanding of something, you can lead yourself or others down the path toward bad ideas, incorrect conclusions, and dangerous consequences. An example is a person who just learned to swim at a city pool and then goes out to the ocean and tries his new skill. Pretty soon they find out that they can get into serious trouble with the riptide or with the waves or some other conditions that they did not experience in the controlled environment of the swimming pool. They just didn't know what they didn't know, and so they faced new conditions that they hadn't faced before, and now all of a sudden their self-assessment of being a newly expert swimmer is contradicted by the fact that they're about to drown at the beach. The fact is they needed a lot more practice and they needed to be a lot more careful in the new environment. We can also see the DK effect come up when people first encounter thorny issues like abortion, politics, or religion. People with incomplete information will hold tight to one side or the other of a particular argument based on what little they have learned or what little they've been taught growing up, not knowing that there's tons of evidence on the other side of the argument that refutes what they've already been exposed to. This goes hand in hand with confirmation bias, which I've covered in a separate video. Our confirmation bias tends to keep us from learning facts that refute what we already hold as strong stances. These two biases combined then keep us in the dark and woefully underinformed when it comes to our most closely held beliefs. Some researchers of the DK effect will also group in people who are experts in a field who tend to underestimate their proficiency. This might be someone like a radiologist who is an MD, but she doesn't feel comfortable discussing the details of something like oncology. She doesn't feel like she's an expert in that field. While she may have more knowledge on oncology than over 90% of the population, she's comparing her knowledge to that of a specialist, to that of an oncologist. But she is still very knowledgeable on the subject. The downsides of the DK effect are fairly clear. People with incomplete or insufficient information can lead themselves or others astray without realizing that they don't know what they don't know. They can also get themselves into dangerous situations because they don't realize what the consequences might be. It can even lead people to think that they're already an expert when they are far from it. I remember being in a small poker club that played games and tournaments on weekends. This was mostly for fun, and a few of us played for several years, and some of us were even pretty good in professional tournaments. Along the way, a new person joined our games, and it was clear that he was a novice. After a few months of playing, though, he decided that he knew enough to write some software to help others learn how to play, and also write a book on the subject. The rest of us who knew what he didn't know knew this was a clear case of the Dunning-Kruger effect. This person thought he had learned enough to be able to write some software on the topic and write a book on the topic, but he clearly had not. The book was rudimentary in nature, and the software was uninspiring. This was someone who got a little bit of knowledge and ran too far too fast with it, without really acquiring the level of expertise needed to be able to do the kinds of things he wanted to do. The DK effect can be dangerous because it can fool some of us into thinking we are experts and lead us or our groups into dangerous situations or into making bad decisions. The key to avoiding this is to realize that you don't know what you don't know. When first encountering a topic or a new skill, it's important for us to realize that it could take several years or even decades for us to become truly expert or proficient in the skill or subject. Unless you're born a prodigy, it will take several years for you to be able to call yourself an expert in just about any topic or skill. This is just as important with ideas or concepts that you may have been taught since early childhood, and you thought you knew everything that there is to know about them. Many times we are taught things from early childhood that are from a single perspective. We're not given the full 360 view of the particular topic. We're never given alternative views or information that actually debunks or refutes those points of view. We're only given one side of the story. This can happen because these are teachings that have been passed down through the generations within cultures, and these are taken to be true, but if you stop to explore it deeper, you can find that it's actually been refuted and shown to be false. The problem is that these memes take hold in our societies and are then passed through generations without really stopping to look whether or not these things are true or not. An example here is the flat earth hypothesis. Many in the ancient world knew that the earth was round or spheroidal, but there were also civilizations that had this meme that was passed down through the generations that the earth was flat, because it was passed down by venerable old wise men who were trusted without question. The Jewish and Christian Bibles themselves describe the earth as flat, and this was passed down for hundreds of years through those cultures, to the point where today there are still people that believe the earth is flat. The problem is that those who wrote down those ideas were going by what they saw around them and by just visual information of their limited worldview and what they thought they knew for sure. They did not know what they did not know. It takes some experimentation and measurements to be able to actually show that the world is spheroidal and not flat. Simple observation can lead us in the wrong direction. It also led some of the ancients to believe that the sun goes around the earth rather than the other way around. After all, we see the sun rise in the east and set in the west, and we don't actually feel the earth moving at all. The moral of the story here is to keep the Dunning-Kruger effect in your mind when learning something new, whether that's a new topic, something in politics, something in religion, or some new skill. You're going to get to a point where you think you've reached a high level of proficiency, but remember that you really don't know what you don't know. And so you need to keep going further and study more in order to get the full picture or to really learn the subject in depth. And this is important not just for new things you encounter, but things you were told when you were young or growing up and take for granted as truth because these memes were passed down to you. Revisit some of those and really look at it from all angles and take the perspectives from opposing views and really judge one versus the other fairly to determine which is correct and which isn't. Go into these topics with an open mind and seek information from all points of view, including views that oppose those of your preconceptions. At the same time, we should not be discouraged by the decay effect and just give up and say, well, it's all too hard. I'm not even going to try to learn anything new. There is great pleasure of really digging in and getting into the bottom of a subject or a skill and really understanding how it all works from all angles and truly becoming an expert in the topic. If deep exploration leads you to a point where you have to change your mind about a previously strongly held belief, then so be it. The truth is the truth, and as a wise person once said, it's better to believe in things that are true and not to believe things that are false. The only way to achieve this state is to explore topics deeply and understand what all sides have to say, and then make up your mind on which ones make the most logical sense, and not to stick to your guns no matter what. Many times when heading down these paths, you'll find that most subjects are not just black or white. It's always shades of gray. And it is in that middle ground where we will find the best ideas and solutions for the issues that we face today. That's my summary on the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let me know if you have any questions or any other topic suggestions that you'd like to see me cover. Thanks for watching and have a great day.